Hi everyone, happy Monday. Welcome back to our Daily Clues by Sam. I hope you're having a good start of the week, a good Monday, even though it is a Monday. And if you're new here and you don't know Clues by Sam, it is a daily puzzle where there are 20 people on a board and we have to figure out which ones are criminals and which ones are innocents. Nobody lies, not even the criminals, and it changes in difficulty. So on Mondays, we usually have easy ones. It is a good day to start if you're new and don't know the mechanics, there is a tutorial here, but on Mondays we also play a bonus puzzle here on the channel, and that bonus puzzle comes from the newsletter. So if you subscribe to the newsletter on the website from Sam, you get bonus puzzles and recommended community puzzles from Sam themselves, where people don't from the community create those puzzles, and we can play more if we're thirsty for more. And one neat thing that we get from the newsletter as well is new features or behind the scenes sometimes, and also stats overall for everybody playing from the community. And today I learned from the newsletter that we finally got a pause button. So if I scroll down here, you can see that we have an option to pause the game finally. And I'll show that when we start. And then after we finish this one game, we're gonna jump into the hardest one from the bonus ones in the newsletter. So let's start. We start with Vicky telling us that only one of the two innocent judges is Nancy's neighbor. Okay, so there's 3 judges, Ruby, Hope, and Betty, and Nancy neighbors 2 of them, Hope and Ruby, and only one of those 2 is an innocent, but there's 2 total innocent judges. So that means that Betty has to be the second one because she's not neighboring Nancy. Let's try the pause button here. Ooh, so black screen and just an overlay telling us the difficulty and the day of the puzzle. And I read in the newsletter that we have the option to restart, but then our stats are not going to count. So, oh, and also you can only pause if you have an account on the website. So I do recommend having an account because you can play past games and you can see your past stats as well. So it's really neat, and if you're lucky, you can get the puzzle maker as well. And you can also have access to the community puzzles from people making their own games. So let's resume. And now read Betty's clue telling us that Tia is one of Steve's 4 criminal neighbors. So a criminal here, and she says that Vicky is the only innocent clerk. So there's 2 more clerks, and none of those 2 is an innocent because Vicky is the only one. Now we don't need Tia's clue anymore. Paul says there is only one innocent to the left of Zara, and that innocent is Vicky, so we know that Thor is not an innocent because he's also to the left of Zara. Thor now says that Daniel is a criminal. Okay, straightforward. Daniel says that Olaf and Steve have an equal number of innocent neighbors. So we know that Steve has 4 criminal neighbors, right? Which means that Olaf has to have 4 as well, and there's only 2 people left where he needs 2 more, so that means that both of those are criminals. And we don't need Betty's clue anymore. Now, we don't need Daniel's either. I guess we do need Betty's because it's telling us the total for Steve. But Karen says there's an odd number of criminals above Sia. So we're talking about criminals here. So far, Sia has Daniel as a criminal above her, and she's gonna have a second one who's one of the judges. So that makes 2 total. And 2 is an even number. So we need a third person to be a criminal, and that can only be Mary to make an odd number. So we don't need Karen's clue anymore because we have tagged Hope and Ruby. Mary says there are exactly 2 criminals above Vicky. So those 2 are Paul and Karen. That makes Gabe an innocent, and we don't need Mary's clue anymore. Gabe says that column C has more criminals than any other column. So since we know that column C is going to have 3 criminals above Sia and Sia herself, that makes 4, which means that column A couldn't have any more criminals, because that would make it equal to column C, or even more if anybody else is a criminal. Now Alex says that Ethan is a criminal. Okay. Ethan says there are more criminals than innocents to the right of Karen. So to the right of Karen, there's 1 criminal. There could be 2 criminals to the right of Karen because 2 is more than 0. So there's actually not a real clue there. We have to put it together with some other clue to figure it out. let's think about this. If we know that there's 4 criminals neighboring Steve, could 2 of those criminals be Nancy and Zara, which would force Ruby to be an innocent? Yeah, they could. Oh, thing is, if Nancy is an innocent here, because there's only 2 people to write of Karen, 1 is the same as 1. 1 is not more than 1. So we couldn't have Mary and Nancy be opposites here. Nancy has to be a criminal. And that makes Ruby and Zara opposites as well, because Steve needs 1 innocent neighbor. Now, Nancy says that Vicky has more criminal neighbors than Isaac. So Isaac and Vicky so far have the same number of criminal neighbors. If Ruby here is a criminal because her opposite is shared with Isaac, that will make Isaac have less criminal neighbors than Vicky, right? So they are indirectly affected one by the other. So that makes Ruby an innocent, so that, oh, have I read it opposite? Vicky has more criminal neighbors than Isaac. Okay, that makes sense. So it has to be Ruby to make Isaac have less criminal neighbors than her. So I did read the opposite. You gotta be careful with that. Now Ruby says, oh, we know that Sarah is an innocent because of Ruby and Steve. We don't need Betty's clue anymore. Ruby says there are exactly 2 innocents to right of Gabe. So that makes Isaac the second innocent. And we know that, do we? There are 12 criminals in total. So how many do we have so far? 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We need 1 more, so Steve has to be a criminal. Okay. Very good. Very good example of maybe reading the clue too fast and forgetting about it as I read, and then jumping to conclusions which should be opposites. But nonetheless, it was a fun game, and we're gonna jump right into the hard one from the bonus puzzle. So today, July the 6th, we have a hard one. And Sam said that this was one of the old games that they reviewed. Oh, we don't have... Oh, so now we pause and then we restart. Your result after restarting won't be included in global statistics. I don't think the bonus puzzles are ever included in global statistics, so I'm gonna restart anyway. But I'm not really counting on having those statistics. So let's start this one with Noah telling us that Helen is one of 2 criminals in row 2. Row 2 has 4 people and 2 of those are criminals, which means 2 innocent. So let's keep that in mind. Helen says that row 3 has more criminals than any other row. Row 3 has more criminals than any other row. So we know from Noah that row 2 has 2 criminals, right? So that means that row 3 has to have more than 2. It has to have at least 3, and there's only 3 people left in that row. So all 3 of them have to be criminals so that we can have more than 2. Let's leave Helen's school there, telling us the minimum of other columns, or the maximum. Oscar now says exactly 3 of the 9 innocents on the edges are Igor's neighbors. Okay, so Igor has 5 people on the edges neighboring him. 3 of those are innocents, and the other 2 are gonna be criminals. I don't know exactly who they are, but I'm marking them here. We're gonna keep that in mind, and also the 9 innocents on the edges. Now, Keith says there's an equal number of innocents in rows 1 and 2. So we know there's 2 innocents in row 2, which means 2 innocents in row 1. And that means that one of the innocents that neighbors Igor has to be Jose, because he couldn't have all 3 be here in row 1. That would make it more innocents in row 1 than there should be, right? So Jose has to be an innocent. That's one of the things we get from that. And the other one is that Gary and Igor are opposites, because we know there's 2 and 2 in that row. Jose says that Zena is one of 3 instances in column C. So we need the third one. And Helen says that row 3 has more criminals. Oh, I have read that. So is it Keith's? I guess I'm using all of these. Zena says that only one of the 4 instances neighboring Martin is in column B. So Martin is here, and he's in column B. And he has 2 people neighboring him in column B. Only one of those is innocent, but it couldn't be Helen because she's already a criminal. So Ruth has to be an innocent here. And Martin has 3 innocents now, right? And 3 criminals because Ruth and Noah are innocents, and there's going to be a third one here in row 2 neighboring him. And same goes for criminals. So that makes Peter and Saga opposites as well. And since we know that there couldn't be a third one, a third criminal anyway, so we leave that there. Is it Ruth giving us a new clue? There's an equal number of instances in columns B and C. We know there's 3 instances in column C, so column B has to have 3 instances as well. And there's 2 people left, we need 2 more instances, so both of those have to be instances. Now, I know that Eli and Flora are opposites because of Igor and his number of instances on the edges. Don't need Ruth's clue anymore. Vince says there are more criminals in row 1 than row 4. So we know there's 2 criminals in row 1. One of them has to be Amy, by the way. That means that there couldn't be 2 in row 4 because there's more in row 1 than row 4. I'm not gonna make the same mistake I made in the easy puzzle. So Tina has to be an instant here. We don't need Vince's clue anymore. Now Amy says that an odd number of instances on the edges neighbor Helen. So the same, sort of the same thing that goes for Igor, but for Igor we know the total is 3. One thing that we gotta pay attention to is how many instances do we have total on the edges here? So far we have Donna, Jose, Tina, that's 3, Tina and Vince, that's 4, 5. We're gonna have a sixth one here in row 1. So we need 3 more. One of which is gonna be either Gary or Peter. Oh, this is in the next wing. It could be that both of these guys are criminals. So we're not there yet. We just know that either both Eli and Gary are innocents because of Helen, or none of them. Is it have I read Tina's clue? There are exactly 2 instances below Jose. Tina is one of them, so Zara has to be the second one, and we don't need Tina's clue anymore. Zara gives us a new clue. Only one person has exactly 5 innocent neighbors. So who is that person? It's Igor? No, Igor has 4. Ruth? Ruth has 3 and it's gonna have a 4th one here. We know that Martin has 4. Jose couldn't have 5. Noah could have 5 if both Igor and Saga are innocents. But if both Igor and Saga are innocents, are we in trouble on the edges? Gary being a criminal forces Eli to be an innocent. Oh, forces Eli to be a criminal as well because of Helen. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 innocents on the edges. We couldn't have 9. So we couldn't have both Igor and Saga be innocents. So it's not Noah. Let me make sure. I'm gonna count again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8th would be Uma. So Noah couldn't be the person with 5 instant neighbors. If both Igor and Saga are criminals, then Gary being an instant forces Eli to be an instant as well, so Helen has an odd number on the edges. Who has 5 now? Oh, we were looking at Xena also having 5 people who are instants neighboring her. So Noah having 5 instants would break because Xena would also have 5 instants. But now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 instants on the edges. So that would make Uma a criminal. And Ruth has 1, 2, 3, 4 instants neighboring her. Noah has 3 only. Vince has 3. So nobody has 5 instants in this scenario. So that breaks as well. We know now that indeed Martin's neighbors that he has left are an X-Wing. And if Saga is an instant, she makes Xena the single person who has 5 innocent neighbors. And does that make anybody else have 5 innocent neighbors? I mean, Noah for sure doesn't. Vince couldn't. Ruth couldn't. 1, 2, 3, 4. Uma would have to be a criminal. And then we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 instances on the edge. So that would break. Saga has to be a criminal then. Because her being a criminal. Yeah. Makes this unravel. And now Ruth has to be the person who has 5 instant neighbors. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And Uma is the 9th instant. Ruth having 5 instants neighboring her. So that was crazy. Very hard. A lot of things to put together. Like a lot. Very interesting. I'm not really sure how Sam... Like, how does Sam define a puzzle's... I'm running out of words here. How is a puzzle's difficulty defined? Because I know that when I made my puzzle... I want to make a separate video to talk about the puzzle making process. I'm gonna do that. Please. You guys gotta start asking things and making me accountable, talking more about things, showing up more. I'm here for that. But when I made the puzzle, I didn't get a difficulty set for it automatically. Like, it's me trying to... Or maybe I didn't see it. Maybe I'm just blind. But I couldn't see any difficulty that the puzzle told me. So how does Sam check for difficulty? Or am I not seeing? I'm gonna have to check it again because I am making a new puzzle. But get to the point. Sometimes, like, this puzzle had so few clues, but it was considered a hard one. And indeed, I thought it was hard because I felt like there were so many clues that weren't dismissed and we have to keep reminding ourselves of it as we solve. So that increases the puzzle difficulty. I guess you could chart it, like you could put it down how many puzzles are active at the same time, how many people share neighbors directly or indirectly. I don't know. It's a very interesting thing that I am studying and I am having fun learning about, and I want to talk more about it. But for now, I'm gonna leave this here. If you want to know more about it, let me know if you care about it at all. I do love learning and rambling about things. Sometimes I feel like I just ramble and I don't make any sense. And that's one of the reasons why I miss live streaming. So I want to get back into that and talk to you guys. This is the third time I'm ending the video. Sorry about that. I'll leave you here for today. Bye bye.